for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling Seaboard Marine at 949-4977.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Monday, the 6th day of August, 2018. And I want to say happy Independence Day to Jamaica. All Jamaican nationals living here in the Cayman Islands and elsewhere as well. Happy Independence Day. Happy birthday to you, some may say as well. Many will applaud you for the steps that you've taken towards gaining your independence. Others will look at you and use you as a benchmark and say this is the reason why we shouldn't have independence, and the conversation is always good. But whatever the naysayers or those who applaud you for your accomplishments, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I say to you, make the best of it. For those of you who have an interest in talking about Jamaica's independence and in discussing it, I would encourage you to read an article written by the renowned commentator, author. He's a sociologist as well as a development scientist. His name is Peter Spute, and there's an article in the Jamaica Gleaner on the 3rd of August, Friday the 3rd of August, yearning for true liberation. Read about that there, and very interesting commentary. We're due to have guests on this morning. If no guests arrive in the studio, then it will certainly give me an opportunity to discuss the contents of this article as well. Very intriguing, very interesting article as well. I trust that all of our listeners and viewers had an enjoyable weekend. Weather seems to be nice. A few showers here and there. Still a warm weather as well. For those of you on Friday, we want to apologize to you for the interruptions that we had. Those were not man-made events. Those were acts of nature, acts of God, in terms of the lightning and the interruptions that we had as a result of that. But we again want to apologize to you as well. And there were several announcements that were made during that period that some people were unable to share. One of really important note is the passing of the late Clifton Borden, also known as CB. It appears as if many people in the community, even friends of his, acquaintances, did not know of CB's passing as a result of the interruption during our show. And I did mention it on there. I got the information and I wanted to confirm it. And the writer confirmed that they had spoken to CB's granddaughter, and she had confirmed that he had passed away, I think it was 2:30 on Thursday, last Thursday. So again, our prayers, our condolences go out to the family of the late CB, an iconic figure in the Cayman Islands. If you ever had an opportunity to talk to him, talk with him, you know he spoke his mind, quite knowledgeable. I knew a lot about the history of the Cayman Islands as well. And again, our prayers and our thoughts go out to the family. And I know many of you want to extend your condolences to the family of CB as well. I also want to say, and I will repeat it during the course of the show as well, that Dr. McField called me on Saturday and we spoke about CB's passing, and he emphasized the fact that, you know, we cannot let these icons go and not have a discussion about them, not talk about them. We cannot have them, their names and their legacies lost in the annals of history. And I invited Dr. McField, and he accepted to come on the show on Wednesday morning for us to discuss the life of the late Clifton Bawden. We want to have discussions. We want to open up the phone lines as well for those of you who may want to talk about any experience that you may have had with CB as well, to give you an opportunity to do that. And on Wednesday, I'm sure we'll be able to announce more details about when the service will be held in Thanksgiving for the late CB as well. I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record, of course, is a show produced by the staff and the management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I'm your host, Dorrit Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. Normally, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watts, and when it's not that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan, it is either DJ Lynn, who is here with us this morning, or Mr. Paul Akai as well. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. In addition to that, we also have a WhatsApp number. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261. We encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note. If you send us a voice note, then the contents of that voice note will be played during the course of the show as well. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube as well. Just subscribe to Radio Cayman live stream, and you can follow us on YouTube also. One of the topic that we're going to be discussing this morning, and one of our guests has arrived in the studio. We will be talking about domestic violence intervention and a training program that is in place. But this specific show will be talking about domestic violence intervention program in Cayman Brac, and there are some dates, notable dates, that we will be talking about as well. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we will start our conversation. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the historical vignette series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Turtling was once the paramount occupation of the early Caymanian settlers. The first economic system of the island was a basic one, but one that afforded external dispersing. Turtles and turtle products were bartered to outside customers, who in turn supplied British wares, clothing, tools, fishing apparatus, and other manufactured necessities. Caymanians did not only fish their own waters, but also regularly sailed to the southern coast of Cuba, so much that due to the overfishing of Cayman waters, by 1800, 9 20 to 30-ton vessels were turtling exclusively off the coast of Cuba. After the Cuba waters became sparse, the fishers continued their pursuit further south to the Mosquito Key and the Central American coast.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from the Maritime Heritage of the Cayman Islands by Roger C. Smith.
Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Why rush around paying bills when you can pay most of your bills online? Cayman National offers an extensive list of service providers. Visit CaymanNational.com and log on to our personal or business online banking systems. Not an online banking customer? Contact their customer support team on 949-8300 for more information.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah, and they have lots of cars on sale, some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount, or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly. And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
The Cayman Pharmacy Group provides you with more than just prescriptions. We strive to make your health our concern. We recognize the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care. That is why we offer personalized one-on-one counseling. Our pharmacists are here to assist you with questions you may have about your health and the medications you've been prescribed. With West Bay Pharmacy and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, the Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. We care about your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore,
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record, with your host, Auret Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Miss Charmaine Miller. She's the Family Resource Center's program coordinator, and we're going to be talking about domestic violence training. And you can discount the other part of that I told you, which was in the Cayman BRAC, and Miss Miller will explain to you why that portion of the discussion will change and the new venue for the training as well.
Sure.
Ms. Miller, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to For the Record.
Thank you. Thank
understand
you
this is not your first time in Radio Cayman, but certainly your first time
with you
on For the Record. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. We're really excited. I'm really excited to be here today. This is our second time around facilitating the domestic violence training program. So it's pretty much facilitated quarterly as one of our initiatives at the Family Resource Center, which is pretty much focused on enhancing our professionals' skill set when it comes to addressing domestic violence, whether it is that they're working with victims, perpetrators, or their children also. So the program is geared towards professionals. And last time around, a few months ago, we facilitated it here in Grand Cayman. Last year, we had an opportunity to do so in Cayman Brac for the first time in about 7 years or so. And we had a great turnout. We had around 20 participants involved from various different organizations and community members that were interested in learning more about the training and how to work with domestic violence victims. However, this time around, we've had to change our plan because of low number of registrations in Cayman Brac. We're not in a position to facilitate it in August. However, we are looking at whether or not we can push it back to December, as it's a training program that's facilitated quarterly or potentially next summer. So it's all really the goal is still there in offering this training to our sister islands, absolutely. However, as it stands, due to the low number of registrations, we've had to change the course of action and facilitate it here in Grand Cayman.
And why would you what would you attribute that low number? Is it the time of the year that it's taking place, August, when people are still on vacation?
I mean, it could be various factors. We actually did the training same time last year,
okay,
and the turnout was great. However, there was a long period of time between the last time the training was offered in Cayman Brac, I said around 7 years or so, to last year, and so there was a need to deliver this training. As it stands, I mean, the population of professionals in Cayman Brac is smaller, obviously, than in Grand Cayman. So those that were trained were those that were in the front line and now have already been trained. So now we're looking at, obviously, offering the training again to a different set of people.
And can you, for the benefit of our listening and viewing audience, those professionals, can you tell us the wide range of disciplines that they come from?
Absolutely. The beauty of this program, and oftentimes we get private entities that call us and want us to deliver the training, particularly to a certain organization. But we're very strict in the formatting of this training, in that we want to have different perspectives from various professionals. So whether it is a nurse from the hospital, a church member from a particular church, a social worker, probation officers, police officers, which we get a lot of those, a human and social services worker. So it's a variety of workers that oftentimes interface with victims and their families. Once we have this wide scope of of professionals within that room, the discussion is way more rich and fruitful, as opposed to just having one background. So that's definitely a criteria of ours. We want to make sure that we have a wide variety of participants in the programs, whether they are psychologists who already have a fair enough understanding of how it works, lawyers who interface with the victims and whatnot, social workers, as I mentioned. So it's very, very diverse. We've had in the past victims themselves that now have decided to potentially do a career change and want to now invest a lot of their time on educating the community on this and learn more about the dynamics of abuse. And so it creates for a very rich discussion.
Is it something that the members of the judiciary would also participate in, or do they feel that they, in order to maintain their independence, that they should be separate for this, but at the same time feel that they should be more sensitized towards these issues? I
mean, it's definitely something that comes up when we're in training by our professionals themselves, in the demand or the need to have individuals that are in higher ranking positions to be a part of this training, just because policies are one thing, but when it comes to the implementation of it, sometimes there's that discrepancy. But for us, having frontline professionals that are actually the first face of that organization is crucial. So whether it is someone in the admin role at judiciary or whatnot, it's so important to have them be a part of this, because that's a make or break moment, right? When a victim comes forward and says, I need help, I'm feeling vulnerable, this is what's happening to me. and the response or the service that they get in return will make a huge difference as to whether or not they continue being in that very abusive cycle. So frontline professionals is crucial, but also having different levels of professionals so that in the event that we're feeling like, the law is not being executed correctly, then we have members in the judiciary that can actually shine some light on that, and say, why is it that this particular scenario was dealt with in that way, and what are some professional recommendations? So it's definitely fruitful to have different layers.
And would it help them also in their deliberations, court deliberations with victims or with the perpetrators of domestic violence as well? And despite the fact that there may be sentencing guidelines for judges, at the same time there must be some discretion that judges can use as well. And having this background information, going through these, if not necessarily training sessions, at least listening to the professionals, that would help them to really create that balance that is needed in the justice system.
Absolutely. And I heard you said the word sensitivity. I think that's so important because oftentimes as professionals, we get so caught up in we know the way it works, we understand it, but when it comes to actually implementing it and actually working face to face with that client and seeing how whatever decision you make is going to impact that family and that victim's life overall is so meaningful. So being sensitive to that and within that training, we obviously, while we all the professionals come forward with some degree of knowledge of domestic violence, we're obviously influenced also by our culture. We're influenced by our background, our childhood experiences and whatnot. So those experiences and our knowledge of our various backgrounds are challenged often at times so that we can develop that level of sensitivity when it comes to working with our victims and their families.
Okay, before we go to our 8 o'clock news, I'd like you, again, for the benefit of our audience, to give us some background information on the training program.
Sure. So the Domestic Violence Training Program, or better known as DVITP, is delivered quarterly in Grand Cayman, and we've had the opportunity to do it in Cayman Brac this time around. It's a 3-day training that's going to be taking place at the Georgetown Library the 29th, 30th, and 31st of August. It is a full day training, so it's a huge commitment. The expectation is for participants to be there for the full 3 days in order to get their certificates. This training is very well supported by the RCIPS too, and the police commissioner joins us on the last day to present our participants with their certificates. It's a government funded training. We've obviously had the support of our ministry to continue to facilitate this training, which is the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture, and Housing. It's a long one. I always think, heck, that's the one for me. So our ministry obviously is in support of it. And we've had the opportunity also to get support from Island Heritage. This year we were one of the recipients for the charity drive. And so their funding that we received was a funding that was pretty much split between one of our other programs called SNAP and the domestic violence training, which allows us to facilitate this training for free to our frontline professionals.
Okay, and I see from the notes that I have here, there's funding that was received previously from some international agencies as well.
Right. The training was the training initially took place, it's been over a decade already that we've been running this training. And I know the trainers that initially were trained in this were trained in Jamaica. And the training has now continuously been, growing. And obviously we look to refine it so that when it comes to domestic violence, we're providing updated information and information that's relevant to our participants and most importantly, relevant to our culture here in Cayman. So it's definitely a training that's backed. In order for us to provide it for free, we do receive financial funding.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about the law and the specific areas of the law that address spousal partner abuse?
Mm-hmm. Sure. When it comes to the domestic violence law, and this is something that's broken down even more in detail in our domestic violence training, we do get a representative from the legal system to discuss the law. The law has evolved quite a bit from previously, in that now spousal abuse is something that's considered, right? And that's taken into account. That's new to a lot of the victims that we serve too, and that oftentimes they operate under the assumption that because he or she, we got to be mindful of that too, he or she is my partner, there needs to be a certain degree of tolerance to the abuse, whether it is emotional, psychological, and whatnot. So the law has now encompassed the fact that abuse can take place within that marital relationship, and that there are different types of abuse also, right? There's that emotional, psychological, verbal, physical. In the past, it was mostly that physical part of abuse that was being acknowledged. Why? Because it's the easier one to recognize and to follow through with when it comes to investigation. But now we're broadening that scope of abuse, of domestic violence, and actually considering the different components, which, emotional, verbal, psychological, can be even more damaging than that physical aspect of it.
Okay, folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Orrit Connor. In the studio with me this morning, we have Ms. Charmaine Miller, who is the Family Resource Center's program coordinator. We're talking about domestic violence intervention training. When we return, we're going to ask some questions about the degree of domestic violence taking place in the Cayman Islands, how we deal with that, and how we also measure the effectiveness of the program that has been established here in the Cayman Islands. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
All right, thank you, Mr. Connor. The time is now 7:59, brought to you by Price Right.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access and information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Kersley Fuller. A trip to the BRAC rounds out a 4-day trip with visiting members of the UK Parliament. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
Premier the Honourable Alden McLaughlin welcomed 4 members of Parliament from the UK at a private reception Thursday night. The MPs, Andrew Rosendale, Henry Smith, Colonel Bob Stewart and Martin Vickers, are all members of the all-party parliamentary group for the Cayman Islands, here to get broader knowledge of Cayman's people, culture and economy. During the visit, the MPs met with government, Acting Governor the Honourable France Manderson, Cabinet and Caucus. They also toured the Legislative Assembly and met with Deputy Leader of the Opposition Alpha Saku, as well as MLAs Arden McLean and Kenneth Bryan. The UK MPs also attended a luncheon with several dozen key players from the financial services industry and were also briefed by the RCIPS Air Support Unit. They met community leaders, youth parliamentarians, and proud of them recipients before wrapping up the weekend with a trip to Cayman Brac and a tour of the Eastern Districts before heading home on Sunday. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
Cayman's representative in the UK, Eric Bush, says the trip has been a success because there's nothing like actually being here and meeting people face to face.
And I've been in the UK for 2 years. And I've met with these individuals many, many times, talked to them, given them all of the fact sheets. But they've been here for 3.5 days. And they get it. They understand who Cayman is, what we are, what the special relationship is between the Cayman Islands and the UK.
He says the visiting members of Parliament also seem to have gained a better understanding of what the relationship between the UK and Cayman needs to be going forward. And a drug arrest in Georgetown after police respond to a call about a man acting suspiciously at a Smith Road parking lot. Police got the call around 9 p.m. on Friday. When they arrived, they say the man drove out of the parking lot, refusing to stop for police, who were signaling with lights and siren. They followed the man to Prospect and spotted him throwing items out of the vehicle. When the car finally did stop in the Smith Road area, they arrested him and seized his vehicle. Officers searched him and found ganja and other paraphernalia. Police say there were no injuries or damages, and the matter is still under police investigation. Now, with a check of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with David Austin. The Indonesian President Joko Widodo has called for the immediate evacuation of all casualties after a huge earthquake on the island of Lombok, which killed more than 90 people. So far, more than 10,000 people have been evacuated from Lombok and the neighbouring Gili Islands since a powerful 6.9 magnitude quake struck on Sunday. North Korea has called on the United States to drop its sanctions, saying that Pyongyang had made a number of goodwill gestures. State media said North Korea had stopped nuclear weapons testing, dismantled a nuclear site, and handed over remains of U.S. troops killed in the Korean War. A leading Saudi women's rights campaigner has called on other nations to join Canada in speaking up about the detention of her fellow activists in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi authorities have retaliated by saying they're freezing all new trade and investment transactions with Canada and expelling the country's ambassador. European powers have restated their opposition to the imminent re-imposition of U.S. sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program, saying they deeply regretted the move. The White House is due to announce further details of the sanctions today. Taiwan's president has announced a 5.5% increase in defense spending for next year, bringing the annual spending to $11 billion. The increase comes as tensions rise with Beijing. With Japan in the grip of the worst heat wave on record, the government is considering moving the clocks forward 2 hours during the summer for the next 2 years to try to prevent people suffering from heat exhaustion during the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And the renowned French chef Joël Robuchon has died in the Swiss city of Geneva at the age of 73. He won more than 30 Michelin stars, more than any other chef in the world, running gourmet restaurants across Europe, North America and Asia. And that's the latest BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For 50 years, Cayman Airways has been connecting the Cayman Islands to the world, welcoming visitors to our shores and taking residents to exciting destinations. Whether for well-earned vacations, productive business trips, or simply reconnecting with friends and family, Cayman Airways has been honored to be part of your lives for 50 years. Cayman Airways airfares are now on sale for some destinations for travel in the fall. Sale ends August 11th. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
The following is a public service announcement. The Council of the Justices of the Peace Association is pleased to advise the public that general document signing services will be provided 3 days a week in the front lobby of the Government Administration Building. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon, the following services will be provided by volunteer justices: witnessing a signature on an authentic document, certifying a document as a true copy of the original once the original has been provided, witnessing a signature and completing the portion on a Cayman Islands or British passport application, including acknowledging that the photo provided is a true likeness. Please note, a JP must have known the passport applicant for no less than 2 years before signing the application. Identification cards must be presented, and persons seeking the services of the justices must ensure that proper attire is worn when visiting the Government Administration Building.
In financial news, global stock markets were mixed today after the United States reported strong job numbers and China threatened a tariff hike. Keeping score in early trading, Germany's DAX shed 0.4% to 12,568, while London's FTSE 100 gained 4 points to 7,663. France's CAC 40 lost 1.5 points to 5,478. On Friday, the FTSE gained 1.1%, the DAX rose 0.6%, and the CAC 40 added 0.3%. On Wall Street, futures for the Standard & Poor's 500 Index and the Dow Jones Industrial Average were unchanged. Looking at Asia's day, the Shanghai Composite Index lost 1.3% to 2,705, and Tokyo's Nikkei 225 was off 18 points at 22,507. Hong Kong's Hang Seng added 0.5% to 27,819, and Seoul's Kospi was down 1 point to 2,286. In energy, benchmark U.S. crude gained 47 cents to $68.95 per barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. The contract sank 47 cents on Friday to close at $68.49. Brent crude, used to price international oils, rose 33 cents to $73.55 in London. It lost 24 cents the previous session to $73.21. In currency, the dollar declined to 111.25 yen from Friday's 111.26. The euro edged down $1.1562 from 1.1569.
Radio Cayman's premier health show,
For the Health of It, with Tara Bush,
is brought to you on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. Proudly brought to you by the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association. For more information on how you can become a member or the benefits of the CICSA, please visit www.cicsa.ky.
For the Health of It, with Tara Bush. Your weather update after 8 is brought to you by Brand Source Home Gallery, creating elegant bathrooms with European-style fixtures and fittings.
Good morning with the latest look at your weather. Temperature is currently 84 degrees. Relative humidity is at 79%. Winds are coming in from the northeast at 6 knots. Barometric pressure is at 29.95 inches and rising. The overnight low was 82 degrees. Isolated showers are expected to continue across the Northwest Caribbean today as the upper-level low-pressure system enhances localized showers. Further to the east, there is tropical wave over Jamaica that should move in our area later on today, increasing our chances of showers and possible thunder. Radar images show showers in and around the Cayman area moving towards the west. Forecast for today, partly cloudy skies with 30% chances of showers and thunder. Temperatures will rise to the low 90s. Winds will be northeast 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with 30% chances of late night showers, along with possible thunder. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Winds will be easterly 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Currently, we're under high tide. Low tide takes place today at 11:28 a.m. and high tide again later on this evening at 6:32 p.m. Sunset takes place at 6:57 p.m. and sunrise at 6:05 a.m. tomorrow. Outlook is for similar weather conditions through Tuesday morning. This has been the official public weather forecast prepared by the Cayman Islands National Weather Service and brought to you by Brand Source.
Your weather update after 8 is brought to you by Brand Source Home Gallery, creating elegant bathrooms with European-style fixtures and fittings.
Brand Source Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs, and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort, and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brand Source Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brand Source Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
And with a look at our traffic cameras on the outside, if you happen to be coming in from the east-west, from the eastern west arterial on Shamrock Road, moderate flow of traffic. Things begin to slow down as soon as you cross Lantern Point and head towards the roundabout. Speaking of roundabouts, if you happen to be by King's Roundabout, heading to Linford Pearson Way and Old Crew Road, moderate flow of traffic. Coming off the Liver-Pearson Highway, heading towards the airport, do use caution when merging, but right now is currently a moderate flow of traffic. And stop-and-go traffic over there by Bob Townsend Way as you head towards the stoplight, heading in towards town. And after you cross the stoplight, if you happen to be by the CNB roundabouts, a steady flow of traffic in all directions. If you're in town close to the post office on Edward Street and Shedden Road, traffic is all clear in that area. And take a look at over at Godfrey Nixon Way. Make sure you use caution and look both ways as you cross the street light right there. Moderate flow of traffic as well. And if you happen to be in the Butterfield area, steady flow of traffic all around, no delays as you're heading towards the Industrial Park area. And if you're coming out of the west, steady flow of traffic, all is clear coming off the Westbury Road. Keep it locked right here to Radio Cayman for your latest traffic update.
.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
In local sports, after nearly 3 weeks of intense competition across 5 disciplines, Cayman's run at the 23 Central American and Caribbean Games have come to an end with 3 bronze medals in the bag. Radio Cayman's Andrew Harris went to Colombia with the team and has this look back.
Cayman's first set of bronze medal came from the squash courts in Cali, Colombia, when Ailey Bridgman and Jade Pitcairn tied for 3rd place in the women's doubles division. The second set, which also came from the squash courts, was in the mixed doubles division with the duo of Cameron Stafford and Marlene West, who also tied for 3rd. The third and final set of medals came from the women's teams division, where Ailey Bridgman, Jade Pitcairn, and Marlene West also tied for 3rd. Reporting from Barranquilla, Colombia, I'm Andrell Harris for Radio Cayman Sports.
In international sports, Saudi Arabia's Mossad Al-Dosari topped more than 20 million competitors to, quote, make a dream come true and win the FIFA E-World Cup in London. The Xbox player secured a 4-0 aggregate victory over Belgium's Stefano Pena to secure the $250,000 top prize. 32 players from 19 countries made it to the grand final at the O2. Qualification for the tournament began in November with more than 20 million hopeful gamers entering online looking to qualify for live tournaments. The most successful then progressed to the playoffs and live event through the season, with only the world's best reaching the London showpiece.
Initiating system.
For information that matters, for the record, with Orit Connor, continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me Miss Charmaine Miller, who's the program coordinator at Family Resource Center. We're discussing domestic violence intervention. Getting tongue-tied there. Domestic violence intervention training program. Before we went to the news, we were talking about the some background information on the training program. We were talking about funding. Ms. Miller also pointed out that the training was initially scheduled for the BRAC, but because of the low number of registrants, those dates, the date for the BRAC has been changed, and I will get her to repeat all of that information again. And then we want to talk a little bit about the rates, the incidence of domestic violence in the Cayman Islands. What can it be attributed to? We just had World Cup, for instance, and I remember reading or hearing something about the rate of domestic violence may go up during the World Cup. Maybe some spouses are frustrated because their favorite team isn't winning or something like that, things of that nature. So, but I'm not the expert on that. I'm just the host here. I'm going to let the expert talk about all of that. So first of all, if we can repeat the changes in terms of the training.
Absolutely. So the training is taking place in Grand Cayman. It will happen the last week of August, which would be the 29th to the 31st of August. Okay. That's Wednesday through Friday. It is a full day training. The training is free and is targeted to frontline professionals in our field, whether you are a police officer, a social worker, probation officer, nurse, school teacher, counselor, church member, whoever is pretty much in a position that at times they interface with victims and their families of domestic violence. This training course is for you to better equip you with skills on how to become more sensitive to working with this particular population and to learn the dynamics and the nature of domestic violence and how to support the clients.
Excellent. And let's talk about the incidence of domestic violence in the Cayman Islands.
My understanding over the past 2 years or so is that the incidences of domestic violence have increased, right? Whether or not, the reports, let me correct myself. The numbers obviously have increased. However, I don't know if that is reflective of the incident increasing or the fact that people are now becoming more comfortable with reporting,
yes.
Right? Because they're being educated more on what their rights are as women or men, children, as well as, whether or not they're within a visiting relationship, which the law speaks to visiting relationship or spousal relationship. So it's really important to acknowledge the fact that our community is being educated. There's a lot of awareness now on what domestic violence is, what it looks like, and people are coming forth now. Men and women are coming forward and making the appropriate reports in order to be safer and in order to live healthier lives. So the reality is that there is more reporting happening. The services are available, and we're fortunate to be living in an island where a lot of these services are free to our community members. At the Family Resource Center, we offer daily crisis intervention and victim advocacy, and this is provided to male or female victims. They can come in anytime between 12:30 to 5 o'clock, and there's an intake officer available to facilitate screening, and then the intake officer will decide moving forward what service is most appropriate for them. Referrals are made accordingly, whether it is that a child abuse report needs to be written, obviously with the new law in place, the children's law in place. We have to also acknowledge that as an agency, we're mandated reporters, and if children are at risk meaning that they're in a household where they are witnessing abuse, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that they are being targeted or that they're in the middle of the abusive relationship, but the fact that they are within that household is already an issue. So we're also mandated reporters, and we have to make sure that we're providing that relevant information to our partner agencies. So there's a lot of work that's being taken place within partner agencies to ensure that this population remains supported.
Okay. Now, domestic violence, it is not necessarily restricted to physical violence, is it? Can you explain?
No, not at all. And that's something that's clearly defined in the new law that speaks to the fact that there are different components of domestic violence. There's that physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal, emotional, and psychological. The characteristics of those tend to be similar. And so the reality of the matter is that oftentimes when we work with our victims, they are not aware to be frank, that these other types of abuse are actually that their rights are being violated as victims, right? And that a report should be made. For us, that's something that we focus a lot heavily when we're doing our training and educating our professionals, because Cayman is such a small little island, and we're so culturally diverse, right? And so everyone has a different definition, it seems, working definition, unfortunately, of what these different types of abuse are and when to make reports. So we make sure that we're writing, that we're clear, that we're talking, and we're making clear-cut definitions of what each type of abuse is based on the law, and when it's important for professionals to make a report based on their working agency, their respective agency. So it's really important that we're all, pretty much conveying the same message in that there's zero tolerance to abuse, pretty much, and the need to make sure that when we're interacting, when we're intervening with our victims, we're being empathic, we're obviously compassionate, but we're also doing our jobs when it comes to ensuring that, we're following the law. So it's a balance, but it's something that's needed, because our approach, when I initially spoke to, those frontline professionals, that's a make or break moment when our victims are coming forward. So how can we ensure that we're conveying the same message, that abuse is not okay, this shouldn't be happening to you, and that there is support available for you in our community, and how we can move forward with that. So those are the kind of conversations that we have within our training.
Okay. Now, based on your experience and observation, how well have we progressed as far as addressing the whole issue of domestic violence, and as far as international best practice is concerned, where are we on that scale?
I think we're definitely making that progress towards where we should be. We're talking about it. That's already a huge step in the right direction. We're talking about it more. We're getting more referrals. Now people are coming forward. And, I know in the past it used to be like, there was sort of like that myth around, or talk around, don't air your dirty laundry kind of idea, right? And that's what's happening now. People are getting more comfortable. They're advocating for their own rights as an agency, in collaborating with our partner agencies. We're getting more comfortable with the law and the implementation of the law. And I think that the more we continue to work collaboratively, because domestic abuse is a multifaceted issue. It's not just something that, we addressed one off and we make the appropriate reports or referrals, and that's it. It's something that's you've got to continuously work, not only with the families that are victims of it, but also the partner agencies that are involved. So it's about making sure that we're facilitating good client care. We're supporting the clients when needed, and we're definitely conveying the same message so that same person can be the ambassador for others, right? So for us, that's really important. That customer service that our civil service is always speaking about recently, in that we want our clients to come back and talk to others about the service that they've received and the level of compassion and care that they received when they accessed agencies like the Family Resource Center. In doing that, we're going to have more clients that will come forward and talk about this very painful and difficult topic at times, and receive the support so that, eventually we can break the cycle of abuse.
Okay, we have about 5 more minutes. I want to give you an opportunity again for some wrap-up and some closing comments as well, Ms. Miller.
Definitely. The training is usually a very dynamic and interactive training. I'm very fortunate to be part of a very well very well rounded team, and they're very passionate facilitators who are really engaged and take great pride in making an impact in our community. And so it's really important that participants who are interested in learning more about the nature of domestic violence and how they can support their victims, give us a call at 949-0006 or email frc@gov.ky, and we'll go ahead with facilitating that registration for you. Like I said, it's an interactive full-day training. We've gotten great feedback over the course of a decade already. It feels good to say a decade. It's been that long. In regards to the training and just how it's evolved, the training in itself. We try try to make sure that we stay up to date with what the research says internationally and within our region as a Caribbean, and what's being done in our country here in Cayman in terms of making sure that we're creating some impactful change for our victims and our children, right? Because our children are our future. And so we focus heavily also. There's a section in the training that focuses on the impact of abuse on children and how we can support our children that are living in these environments and not just turn a blind eye to them, because they're obviously impacted. And unfortunately, some of them, what research speaks to, if the witnessing of the abuse, they themselves can become perpetrators or victims in the future unless we interrupt that cycle.
Now, we see more and more entities, business entities, employing human resource professionals here in the Cayman Islands. Wouldn't this be an excellent opportunity for human resource managers to be involved in as well, to understand when an employee says, I'm late for work today, or I was unable to come in because I had, problems at home, that they can be more empathic. Empathic towards them as well.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you for mentioning that. That was one group of people that I forgot to mention. HR managers. Absolutely. We want them to also be a part of the training. It makes a huge impact. We do touch on that aspect of how abuse manifests itself in the workplace, and provide some recommendations of what managers or even employees can do to navigate that very difficult sort of issue. But definitely, we've had HR, different businesses that actually want us to deliver the training within their own business that I mentioned earlier. And that can be facilitated, but not within a domestic violence, this program is not designed for that particularly.
Okay.
So we could run a workshop, and that's not a problem. But in terms of bringing in the HR so that we can have a different perspective within our DVITP training is definitely useful. So I encourage all HR managers or individuals that are working with people within the workplace to reach out to the Family Resource Center.
Well, I must say you're extremely enthusiastic about what's going on, and certainly it must be exciting as a program coordinator within the unit in terms of what you're able to deliver. And if you're a people person, and if you're caring about people who find themselves in those situations, it must be extremely energizing for you working there.
Yeah, it's definitely it's fulfilling, and it's humbling at times to know that people reach out to the Family Resource Center. I mean, whatever level that they're in, it doesn't matter. I feel like domestic abuse does not discriminate. That's the reality, right? And the fact that we can put ourselves in a position to create a positive experience for our clients within the chaos and the chaotic environment that they live in, that already in itself is a job well done. And that's something that our team at the Family Resource Center is very passionate about and eager to make a positive impact and leave positive imprints in our families here in Cayman.
Okay, well, Ms. Miller, I want to thank you for making yourself available this morning. I want to wish you all the best in your endeavors, and I'm sure that you will have a great turnout to your training. We will do here on Radio Cayman whatever we can to encourage people to take up the opportunity. Certainly, when you have an opportunity to impact, someone's life in a more positive way, then you should take advantage of that opportunity to do that as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after this short commercial break.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All-Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Oh, my acid reflux is killing me.
Why don't you get something from the grocery store?
I need something better than any generic quick fix.
You should go to West Bay Pharmacy and have a brief consultation with the pharmacist. I went in last week and within minutes I was back in the car and on the road. And you know what? No more acid reflux.
How long did it take you?
Minutes. Here, give them a call at 945-0777.
West Bay Pharmacy is just around the corner with everything you need in the hours you need it. Visit us today for fast, efficient, and professional service. We are here as a team to assist you while taking care of your health. Call us today or visit our website at caymanpharmacy.com.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record, with your host, Auret Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio at the moment. Not at the moment. We will not have any more guests in the studio this morning. So we're going to have open mic, an opportunity for you, our listening and viewing audience, to have your say. You have an opportunity to call in. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. Please put these numbers on speed dial. Toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. Then we have the other numbers. That toll-free number, you call that, there's no charge to you. The other numbers where you would pay a charge, it's going to be charged to your account. 949-6990, 949-8037. You can also call us on our WhatsApp number. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Now, on Friday, when we had those technical difficulties because of Mother Nature, one of our listeners wrote in and had two questions. One, they wanted to know when the Public Accounts Committee will hold their meeting again this year. I still have not been able to get that information. We do know that the Legislative Assembly will meet in September. I am sure that the Public Accounts Committee is going to want to meet at least once more before the end of the year. But again, I will endeavor to get additional information when it becomes available. Also, they wanted to know whether or not the Legislative Assembly meetings in the BRAC would be heard live on Breeze 105 during the daytime and on 89.9 at night. There are many people in the Cayman Islands who, I shouldn't say many, there are some persons in the Cayman Islands who don't have TV. There are some who experience internet speed, shouldn't call it speed, lack of speed, so they're unable to get good reception. So they rely exclusively on the radio to keep up with what's happening. And, of course, here on For the Record, we try to keep you up to speed with what's happening as well. I would say this much, that those providers, internet service providers in the Cayman Islands, some people say their speed isn't good enough for them to watch it on TV. Whether or not that has anything to do with the provider or whether or not that has to do with what the end user can afford in terms of the various packages. But let's do something in the Cayman Islands to give everyone the opportunity to avail themselves to access to the media so that they can keep up to speed with what's happening. One headline in one of our local newspaper today: trash quadruples in 5 years. So within 5 years, the amount of trash collected has gone up 4 times the amount of what it was in 5 years. Which brings us to a question that several developing countries, especially those in the tourism industry, ask the rhetorical question, for whom are we developing? What are we developing for? If we're developing for the amount of trash generated in the Cayman Islands to quadruple in 5 years, if that's what we're developing for, that is not positive development, developing to increase the amount of trash. If we're developing to ensure that the lives and the experiences of the people who inhabit the Cayman Islands are richer, more beneficial to them, then that's another story. If we're developing to increase the population to 100,000 so that more revenue can be generated, to build more roads, to bring more vehicles into the country, to destroy our environment, then is that really the type of development that we want in the Cayman Islands? I don't think so, at least speaking from my perspective. Now, there are those who would want that. There are the developers who have their sole interest is the bottom line. The bottom line, what profits can we generate, despite the fact that they can't take any with them. And those that may leave a legacy behind, they won't know about that legacy, and at some point in time, that legacy will disappear as well. So while we're spending the little time that we're given on this good earth, why don't we, rather than trying to enrich ourselves to boost our own egos, why don't we just try to make this world a little better place for all of those who inhabit it, rather than being selfish about it? Just my take on that, for one. I did mention to you an article written and was published on Friday, the 3rd of August, 2018, by renowned sociologist and development scientist, Mr. Peter Espute. And this is an article written in the Jamaica Gleaner, which he writes quite often in, Yearning for True Liberation. Mr. Espute goes on to talk about the fact that every nation state has its national myths. And one that they have in Jamaica is that they, quote unquote, won their national independence from their colonial masters, such that their political leaders at the time deserved to be declared national heroes. It goes on to say it suits the United Kingdom for us to believe that lie. And the lie he's referring to is that they won their independence. He says, for if the truth were to be told, they would have to pay big money for us to cut loose from them, right? He goes on to talk about the fact that once the sugar industry declined in Jamaica, the net flows between Jamaica and the mother country, that is the United Kingdom, were unfavorable to the United Kingdom. And after World War II, they were in a huge millstone around their necks. They had a huge millstone around their necks, and they wanted to be well rid of us. Why did they want to be well rid of Jamaica? And that is the UK. Mr. Espute theorizes because once the sugar industry declined, the outflow between Jamaica and the mother country was unfavorable to the United Kingdom. That is, that the United Kingdom was receiving less than they were giving out as well. So he goes on to say that 2 years after the end of World War II, on September the 11th, 1947, the Right Honorable Arthur Creech Jones, MP, Secretary of State for the Colonies, convened a meeting of the leaders of all the Antillean British colonies at the Fairfield Country Club in Montego Bay to discuss what he considers at that time their Brexit, called the Conference on the Closer Association of Caribbean States. That meeting produced a preliminary agreement on federation and dominion status for the Antillean British colonies. Mr. Espute says that the winner in that discussion, in that conference, was the United Kingdom, which would have won its political independence from all of us in one full swoop. So, again, he's indicating that the UK did not want the colonies, especially the Antillean Caribbean British colonies, did not want them because they were no longer economically beneficial to the UK, especially after the decline in the sugar industry. He goes on to say, well, the Federation of the West Indies did not quite work out the way Britain wanted because there was too much one-upmanship amongst us, and Jamaica opted for independence, an idea the British would have dreamed to put forward as if it sounded so unworkable. There were, in 1962, failing agriculture, not much of a manufacturing sector, a fledgling tourism industry, a semi-literate population, an apartheid education system, and two political parties perpetually at war, fighting over scarce benefits and spoils. Now, as you can understand, this is a highly controversial article written by Mr. Espute, but it contains many truths as well. And we hear a lot of talk about reparations, and believe you me, because this discussion is continuing, there are many people on the street who are talking about reparations, not just the intelligentsia, not just the academics who are talking about reparations from the colonial powers for the damage that they did from slavery. Remember that after slavery was abolished, that the slave owners, the UK created a £20 million fund to compensate slave owners for their losses after slavery was made illegal. So there was compensation for the slave owners, no compensation for the slaves, and we still haven't gotten it. And there are those who are still fighting for reparations as a result of that as well. Have to take a commercial break. When we return, I'm going to discuss more about Mr. Peter Espute's article because it is quite intriguing, and I would encourage all who have an opportunity to read that article. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Can you explain what a less than container load is for shipment and what your minimum charge is?
Sure. A less than container load, or LCL, is any overseas shipment that does not require the full space of a container. At Seaboard, we have great rates for small packages. Just let us know the dimensions of your package and we'll help you out from there.
Shipping shore to shore. Seaboard.
Not all insurance is created equal, but who has the time to shop around? Take the guesswork out of your insurance coverage with Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Let us match you with the best coverage to suit your needs at a price to suit your wallet. Plus, get superior customer service from dedicated claims professionals to ensure speedy claims processing. Get your insurance through Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly! And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Initiating system.
For information that matter, for the record, with Orit Connor, continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, so we have an open mic. Welcome you to call in. 1-800-534-8255. That's a toll-free number. 949-6990. 949-8037. Our WhatsApp number, 925-3261. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube. That is subscribe to Radio Cayman live stream as well. I'm discussing an article written by Mr. Peter Espeut, E-S-P-E-U-T, Espeut. And he is a sociologist and a development scientist in Jamaica. He writes quite often for the Jamaica Gleaner. Very interesting articles and opinions that he writes to his audience. Okay. Then there's a section in his article called Should Have Paid Reparations. Now, for those of you, and I'm assuming that everyone knows what our reparations are, but for those of you who don't know, reparations, almost like it sounds, reparations, repairing the damage that has been done based on a particular act. In this case, it is financial repairs. Also, it could be emotional repairs as well by acknowledging the injustice that took place, the crime that took place, acknowledging it, apologizing for it, and in this case, also paying for it, paying damages for, or paying for the damages that were caused as well. So, okay, we have a caller. I'm going to interrupt right here to that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. Oh, see, in the construction work, I'm seeing a lot of female in the construction work throughout the island lately.
Yep.
What kind of liability that they would have on them females, and do they come under a work permit in immigration as a contractor, a tiler, or a plumber, or whatever the case may be?
Caller, I would believe that just like many jurisdictions now, that no distinction is made in terms of when we talk about a laborer, when we talk about a carpenter, when we talk about an engineer, even a bricklayer, that it is no longer restricted to the male gender in terms of that. So a female could apply for any of those positions, and once qualified or once the employer is satisfied that that person can perform that job, could apply for a work permit for them.
Yeah, so but they would have liability to the fact of if something happened to them.
They should have it the same way that they have for all of their employees.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's curious.
But you're right. I'm seeing more and more females. You go on job sites and you see more and more of them. They're unfortunately not many Caymanians.
They sure ain't, because up at the airport is swarming with them working up there in the construction work. You know, and they act like a man when they're right up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, that goes to show you. It goes to tell you. The question is: are our people either taking advantage of those opportunities, or are they given the opportunity to get those jobs in the construction field as well?
Yes. Oh, see this immigration amnesty that's going on right now. If anyone going to leave on their own term, wherever nationality they going, wherever country they're going back to, how much time that they got to go home for before they can come back here and get a work permit or what the case may be? You have any idea?
When I was in immigration, normally if you hadn't committed an offense, if you had committed an offense, in this case, the person isn't being charged. So, for instance, if you were a prohibited immigrant, an immigration officer had no discretion in terms of allowing you to return to the Cayman Islands. That could only be done through the governor and cabinet. Right?
So
let me finish. I'll finish for you. Person leaving voluntary during the period of an amnesty, there's no doubt that their name will be put on a stop list and they would be prevented from returning to the Cayman Islands. I'm not sure for what period. We would normally have it for at least, in my day and age, it was for at least 5 years.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was wondering, if they leave voluntarily on their own because of this, what's going on right now with immigration,
mm-hmm.
and they going to go and turn around, come right back.
No, I don't think that's the option. Definitely not.
I can't see that happening. They should be gone at least for a year or two, because they're the one that break their stay in the island, and you know what I mean. They break the law to a certain extent here,
mm-hmm.
so it's them to it's us to penalize them while they're gone, to say, well, you can't come back for another 2 years or what the case may be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But one more. When I think about, I have never voted in my life until these last two terms gone. This last term and this one, right?
Okay.
And just to see how they gone now, 19 members, and got the districts all split up into 4 and 3 and 5 and whatever the case may be, and they won't allow so much budget to work within their areas of their districts, right?
That part I'm not sure if they only allowed a budget to work. I don't think that a budget is really separated that way, not designed that way for the constituencies, the 19 single-member constituencies. But go ahead.
No, what I'm trying to say is that, say, for example, we got 4 in Bordentown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their budget for that area is so-and-so. And they got to work with that to do whatever they can do in those 4 areas of the Bordentown areas. Follow me?
Yeah, but like I said, it's not really so much the budget. Your each representative normally will have an opportunity to appear in cabinet during budget time to talk about some of the needs of their constituencies, what they would like to see done. And sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. They don't get it. But the budget that is allocated for the national budget is for the whole islands.
Yes, I understand that. The national budget is for the whole island. But when these guys go and say, well, I want to do so and so, well, I'm quite sure they're going to get X amount of dollars to work with. But then again, it may not be enough. They're going to do their best with it. So what I'm trying to say is that we put these people in, and we're going to get the less of the less, and other people get the best of the best. And for an example, why I'm saying this. Okay, they're going to give us chip and spray roads on these side roads here in Rhode Island, I guess. And, those roads are dangerous. These little young guys got the speeding and skidding tires in the gravel, let them go zigzagging, and up into somebody's property or home, or kill some child if they're riding a bicycle, because gravel is not something to be on no main road, and when I say main road, off these side roads, put it that way. These side roads shouldn't have no chip and spray because they are dangerous. I said they can't give us something better than that. Just keep fixing the potholes, because it's dangerous, Lucy. It's extremely dangerous.
But I think it is, and I stand to be corrected, but it is normally the policy that the main roads are full of asphalted, but the side roads are usually chip and spray. Now, I understand your argument in terms of that maybe they all should be the same way. And I think that is where the financing comes in. Those roads, the main arterial roads, are more heavily traversed than the other roads. So as a result of that, you end up with chip and spray on those side roads as opposed to the main roads.
Well, O.C., you there?
Yep, right here.
My vote value more than that. Believe me, my vote value more. I'm gonna let you go.
But before you go, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire a little bit here. Just simply to say, if you had 4 votes or 5 votes in Bordentown, you think, as opposed to 1 vote for your constituency, you think it would make any difference in terms of the type of road that you would get?
Not very much, I don't think.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think very
so
much.
you're proving my argument.
Airbnb here in the Cayman Islands. Didn't I heard Mr. Miller came on the station at some point in time discussing about these condos that we have here. They are for the people's own private use, but they're being rented left, right, and center, right? And didn't he? Please quote me if I'm wrong. Something in effect that if there was not to live in these things and decide to rent, then they would have to pay some sort of tax on those condos. Am I right or wrong?
I can't comment on that one. I don't recall that conversation at all.
I heard Miller with it.
Okay.
I put it in the chopping block. But what I'm trying to get at to this B&B, this Airbnb. I have nothing against it, but when people are going to do these Airbnb, they need to give these visitors proper information, proper address where their locations are for these B&B. Or see, I spent over 45 minutes on the road on Friday trying to find a B&B.
Caller, at 9 o'clock, and we have to break for the news now. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but we have to break for the news. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
Driven by solid performances in tourism, construction, and financial services, the Cayman Islands' economy recorded strong growth in 2017, with the estimated gross domestic product rising by 2.9%. That was the highlight of the Cayman Islands' annual Economic Report 2017, released by the Economics and Statistics Office. A powerful earthquake flattened houses and toppled bridges on the Indonesian tourist island of Lombok, killing at least 98 people and shaking neighboring Bali, as authorities said today that rescuers still hadn't reached some devastated areas and the death toll would climb. And the most critical moment in the financial fraud trial of former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort will likely arrive this week with the testimony of his right-hand man, the person defense attorneys blame for any crimes. Rick Gates, who also served in a senior role in President Donald Trump's campaign, has been seen as a key cooperator for special counsel Robert Mueller's team after he cut a plea deal earlier this year. During that process, he admitted to 2 felony charges, but when he testifies, it will be the first time he details those crimes face-to-face with his former boss and mentor. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record. With Orit Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. I will continue with my discussion on Mr. Peter Espute's article in the Jamaica Gleaner on the Friday, the 3rd of August, 2018, entitled Yearning for True Liberation. Mr. Espute is a renowned sociologist and development scientist as well. Reparations, if we look at the definition, says it is a noun and it is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. And it also makes a note that the compensation for war damage paid by a defeated state. Now, talking about war damages, well, after World War II, I believe it was, Germany was devastated, defeated, and the Allies rebuilt it. Slavery. Over the 400 years of slavery, they decimated a whole continent. Millions and millions of people. That's the equivalent, or probably beyond the equivalent, of war. And what have they done after that? They colonized. When it was time for them to leave, the Portuguese, I'm told that in some of the Portuguese colonies, the very plumbing from the office buildings they took with them, when they left absolutely nothing behind. So Mr. Espute talks about independence and whether or not we won it. In the case of Jamaica, whether or not Jamaica won it from the UK, or did Great Britain give it to them because they were of no more economic benefit, no more economic usefulness to the United Kingdom. So his section on should have paid reparations, he says, if we had been smart before we granted the British the perpetual freedom from us that they craved, we would have demanded millions, nay, billions from them as reparations for our undevelopment, wreaked by centuries of colonialism. To make independence work to our benefit, we needed at least an equitable education system. At independence, we had only 41. This is in Jamaica. At independence, we had only 41 traditional high schools, largely in the hands of churches and trusts, 6 senior schools, and 672 elementary schools, grade 1 through 9, which was where the vast majority of colonial Jamaicans began and ended their school careers. We should not have accepted independence without at least 500 more high schools, which would have given us a head start towards a bright future. We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. Osti.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Taking the call. I do believe that is I respect Mr. Astute's deliberations there and his very great knowledge and so forth, but I do believe it's sort of a personal opinion. Listening to what you're saying, I've not read it, because there's a lot kind of left out or skipped over here. One must understand the federation, to understand the reason for Jamaica moving towards the premier at the time, Norman Washington Manley, a brilliant lawyer. So there was a great intellect and great academic knowledge in the government at the time, and lots of it was available as advice. And there was more industry. There was industry. I'm sorry about that one. I kind of disagree there. The bauxite, it was moving along very well. Many Jamaicans employed in that, because I knew many of them passed on now. But from 1948, and there was a Bible condensed. There was great sugar output. Still, the rum was being exported in huge quantities, barrels and cases. And other things are being exported and so forth. And that there was the payment of compensation made, but we have to understand Jamaica's population was more than half the rest of the federated colonies. And they had much less than half the representation in the federal government or parliament, whatever it was called. I can't remember right now. But Jamaica's constitution was more autonomous. It gave them much more autonomy than the Federation constitution. I think they had a constitution. They would have had one. And
when you say the Federation would have had a constitution, is that what you say? Yes, they did. Yes, they did
have a constitution.
Yes.
And this is it. Jamaica's constitution is much more autonomous. The Jamaican people were not happy going into that. There are lots of books written about it. It's a very in-depth thing, so we shouldn't just think it was a decision overnight. They had already reshuffled the system of government into the ministerial council, which in effect took away all the power from the British governor there from 1957. I think it was in September when that move was made. And there were much more added to the ministers, and the minister, Jamaica was in effect almost independent from then. And then they wrote the decision when they had the referendum to come out of the Federation. I think it was in October of 61. Yes. Then they held the Prime Minister, the Premier, Mr. Manley, at the time said that he would be, when it was a total yes vote, majority yes vote, come out. The people were unhappy to go into this thing. It's a lot more to it than this. And then he said, I will be preparing our country to move towards independence. And in February, I think it was, they wrote a new constitution, February 62, which would be a constitution for an independent country, totally different from the one that was before the colony.
Yeah, what Mr. Aspute is saying in his article was basically that the colonial power at the time, Great Britain, their preference was the Federation of the West Indies, right? That was their preference, but that didn't work for several reasons. But his theory is that the British were glad to see these territories go independent because they did not want to have the burdens on their shoulders.
And all that. But you've got to remember, they gained a lot from it. Tremendous amounts. British parliamentarians made themselves multi-millionaires out of their holdings in Jamaica with a big plantation, sugar plantation and so forth. I'm not telling you something that I don't know or guessing at. But, it's a lot can be written and said about it. And in the who's pros and cons or whatever, Jamaica has huge natural resources. It's a very different situation from us, and we should never compare ourselves in that situation at all. It's a very different situation. Those reparations they're talking about, It's because the slaves had to work for 6 years in Jamaica, some of them, some 4. The field slaves worked for 6 years for free.
Mm-hmm.
It was the apprenticeship system that incidentally that Captain Park brought a document here. That's what that ended in. When he read that out here on the 3rd and the 5th, the 6th of May in Cayman, that was 1835. Slavery was already abolished. That ended the apprenticeship system in Cayman 10 months after abolition of slavery because it wasn't working here. But it went on in Jamaica. And even after they were freed and they on apprenticeship, the slaves are still whipped, they were punished still, and they're great things they went through. But that's on time and all this. I'm just trying to say it's a very complicated thing. And
it is complicated, caller, and we can roll out all of the facts, in terms of what happened. But what we have to do is we have to sit down and we have to dissect what has happened, and we have to take it and we have to connect it and relate it to where we are now, where we should have been, where we could have been. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Absolutely, and I would implore you to continue with these kinds of talks, especially to explain to our people every day more and more the role of governor here and the difference of the governor's position and the deputy governor's job. It would be good if you explain it, a man with your knowledge and all that. And
I will be doing more of that, caller.
Yes,
I
definitely. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking my call and letting me ramble on.
No problem. We always enjoy the conversation with you.
I'm a wonderful. I just beg for more in-depth study of the Federation. It's very important.
Right.
Why Jamaica went independent.
Very. Thank you very much, caller, for that. One of our listeners has said, Professor Aspute is correct. Britain conveniently pushed the Caribbean colonies to failed federation. Economic and matters of race drove their decision. Jamaica did not initiate this step. It was craftily foisted on them. He's also correct that if the truth be told, Britain has a debt yet unpaid to Jamaica and other colonies who were drained and left with emotive liberation. Professor Beck has aired that reparations are morally and economically due the former enslaved colonies. It is also fact that the financial bond developed the instrument for reparations to slave owners was only completed in 2011. Billions were paid to slave owners, including some of my antecedents in Jamaica. It is also fact that Britain's track record is to proverbially landmine the colonies that walk away, the economies of the colonies that walk away from which works to still control them in post-colonial status. I sort of messed up a little bit on that there, but the whole idea is there that to a certain extent, Britain is still trying to hold them in post-colonial status. Of course, we heard about the Windrush generation, and the UK has said that they will be making compensation to those persons who were wronged by their actions in the UK. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness, said that he would continue to monitor the situation and ensure that happened. No one has heard any more in terms of what those compensations are going to be in terms of the Windrush generation in the United Kingdom. They need to continue to press UK parliamentarians and the UK government about that other injustice that took place as well. We have one caller. We're going to ask that caller to hold on. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, we will take that caller. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Did you hear that Vant Motors has your sale going on now? And you get your choice on the money you'll save on your new car or truck?
My sale? My choice? Really?
Yeah! And they have lots of cars on sale. Some up to $7,000 off.
Sounds pretty good.
It gets even better. You can choose to take the full discount or you can get some or all of it as cash back.
Extra cash back would be great.
Exactly. And you can even use the savings to extend your warranty or service plan so you'll drive worry-free for years longer.
Another good idea.
If you want to upgrade with something like a new roof rack or backup camera, you can choose that too.
Wow, I get to choose?
Yeah, that's why it's your sale, your choice. Going on now at Vant Motors on Walkers Road, while stocks last.
Are you kidding me?
What's wrong?
I ran out of my meds and I have an interview in about an hour.
Why not call CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy? They'll be able to help.
You think so?
Absolutely. Their pharmacists are brilliant for fast, efficient and professional service.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. We strive to make your health our concern. We recognize the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care. That is why we offer personalized one-on-one counseling. Call us today or visit our website at caymanpharmacy.com.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Save 50% off a complete pair of glasses with any student eye exam. From now until August 31st. Come, see the difference with Optical Outlook. Located in the Caymanian Village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi, this is your reigning queen, Miss Cayman Islands Universe 2017, Anika Connolly. Join me on Saturday, 11th of August at the Westin Resort and Spa to find out which one of the 7 beautiful contestants will take over my crown. I'm excited to announce that pageant tickets are now on sale at Sand Angels in Camana Bay and Funky Tangs in Georgetown.
Come out on August 11th at the Westin to support us for
the Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant. There will be a cocktail reception at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 7 p.m. sharp. Lights, camera, glitz. We hope to see you there.
Initiating system.
For information that matter, for the record, with Orit Connor, continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Thanks for being so patient.
Good morning, OC.
Good morning.
And I got two little things to speak about.
Sure, go right ahead.
You were speaking about earlier. You were speaking about the Legislative Assembly being in the BRAC.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's going to be the cabinet meeting will be. This is in the Caymanian Compass.
Mm-hmm.
The Caymanian Times, rather, not the Compass. Cabinet will meet in the District Administration Building on Tuesday, the 4th of September. And the 5th meeting of the Legislative Assembly will be at the Ashton Ruddy Center on the Bluff beginning at 10 a.m. Wednesday the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be broadcast by Radio Cayman and CIG-TV live. Hello?
Yes, go right ahead. I'm listening. Thank you for providing that. Yes. Uh-huh.
And then, okay, I'm not going to speak about the last one. I'm going to go down to the ending of this. The BRAC meeting will end on the BRAC meeting will end on Friday the 7th of September. The Legislative Assembly will continue the following week on Grand Cayman for Finance Committee.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, caller. See that? Some people know more than I do, a lot more than I do. Thank you very much. And I'm trusting that the person who sent that email to me in relation to that would have had all of that. And as far as Radio Cayman is concerned, I'm told that they will be carrying the broadcast as well. Okay?
Right. OC.
Uh-huh.
And the next thing is, because of this, in the Caymanian Times now, there is the Speaker's chair. A pretty picture right there. Okay? This is the Caymanian Times of Friday, the 3rd of August.
Okay.
And then this pretty picture with the Speaker's chair. Someone been asking me if I can remember who it was that bought that, whether it was government or who had bought that pretty chair.
I think it was Mr. Bush.
I wanted to say that, but I didn't say that to that individual. I said, you need to listen to the talk show now, and you will find out. 'Cause I knew who it was, or I knew who it is that bought that beautiful chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I did say this much. I tell you, I know one thing. The Mr. Speaker now is very pleased to be sitting in that chair. That was my answer to that individual about the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a good answer that I still gave.
Certainly, yep. You couched it for them, Very good. Thank you very much, caller.
Yes, sir.
You have a great day.
And you too.
Thank you. Okay, going back to, I'm going to try to finish up Mr. Espute's article. So he says if we had been smart, that is Jamaica, before we granted the British perpetual freedom from us that they craved, we would have demanded millions, nay, billions from them as reparations for our undevelopment, weakened by centuries of colonialism. He goes on to say, instead, 56 years ago, the British government gave Jamaica the gift of political independence, quote unquote, dry so. Britain could not get rid of us fast enough. They cut us loose quite cheaply. They left us a national debt of zero, a few dollars in the bank, but they made no compensation payment to the Jamaican state for the centuries of debilitating colonialism. This is different from the billions owed to the Jamaican people as reparations for the centuries of slavery, and I would say to other peoples as well in other Caribbean countries. They allowed us to crow that we had, quote unquote, won our independence from them. And we hailed Bustamante and Manley as great heroes for their achievement. Puss and Dog would have been able to win, quote unquote, win that independence from a Britain that shoved it down our throats. I know many of you won't like that because of what he says about your national heroes, but remember that his main argument, his theory, his thesis is that Jamaica and Jamaican politicians didn't win independence. Great Britain gave it to them because they were becoming a burden. So his quote here that Puss and Dog would have been able to, quote unquote, win that independence from a Britain that shoved it down our throats. That's his point of view based on his theory. He says, and pretty soon the inevitable happened. We inherited a constitutional document without the values that underpinned it, and our politicians, aided by a venal private sector, created a corrupt political system, and they have racked up a world-leading national debt which has constrained our efforts at sustainable development. In this emancipation season, we should mute our celebration of Britain's independence from us and the slave masters' £20 million compensation money, which was largely used to stimulate the British economy. We want real independence and real liberation for our people. Now, I'm going to go back to the paragraph that says, and pretty soon the inevitable happened. We inherited a constitutional document without the values that underpinned it. And so, I'm going to use that in the Cayman context. We have a constitution. Do we have the values that underpin that constitution and what it says in there? We have in our constitution, Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009, we have in that these institutions that support democracy, and they're labeled, they're lined up in our Constitution. The question is, do we have the political values that underpin them? For instance, we have it's stated that marriage is between one man and one woman. And we know that we have the values that underpin that because there are Christian values, and we have members of the Christian faith, religious denominations, who support that argument that marriage is between one man and one woman. But yet at the same time, we have a constitution that also talks about equality. Do we have the values that underpin that as well? What Mr. Espute says about Jamaica is that you had a constitution that had aspirational values in there, but the culture that existed in Jamaica at that time did not support those values, aspirational values that were in the constitution, in their constitution. As a result of that, you ended up with corruption, widespread corruption in the government sector and elsewhere. We have to be careful here in the Cayman Islands and ensure that the values that are the aspirational values that our Constitution contains, that we not only aspire to them, but we ensure that we exercise those values to ensure that we do not end up with rampant corruption in the Cayman Islands that we have seen in other jurisdictions. Jamaica is not limited to Jamaica, not limited to Jamaica at all. Other countries that obtained their independence from the colonial powers, the same problems. Why those problems? Because they were never, ever being prepared, being prepped for independence. It was thrust upon them. Some may say some of them fought for it, and there were bloody wars, and many people went to jail, to prison in many of the African countries, and even here in the Caribbean as well, fighting for their independence. But Mr. Espute's argument is that Great Britain, in the case of Jamaica, was more than glad to get rid of Jamaica at that point in time because they had already raped and pillared Jamaica to the extent that it was no longer economically viable for the United Kingdom. Do we want the United Kingdom to do the same thing here in the Cayman Islands? Do we want them to damage, to ruin, to eliminate our financial services industry to the point that we then have to go on our knees begging to the UK for assistance? No, we should not let that happen. We must embrace those values that we have in our Constitution, those entities, those institutions that support democracy, to ensure that we have honest politicians, to ensure that we have honest public servants, to ensure that the people who are served by our politicians and by our public servants receive the benefits that they so rightly deserve, that they pay for, that they have voted for, that they receive them, and not that they go into the hands of corrupt officials. We have an opportunity here in the Cayman Islands to do it right, to get it right. Let us embrace that. And in those instances where we find that our Constitution is defective, where it is lacking in terms of those institutions that support democracy and those institutions that prevent corruption, then let's make those changes to it. Don't let someone suggest the changes to us and just simply accept them. Let's look at them to see whether or not they're viable. Let us consult with our people. And there are many of our people who, in order for us to consult with them, we have to educate them about a process. We have to educate them about our Constitution. We have to let them understand it, because they're the ones at the end of the day will be the end users. They will either receive the benefits of our good Constitution and good practice, or they will suffer as a result of a bad Constitution and bad practices as well. Folks, with that, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want. Say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling, Dwayne, Ebanks at 12 noon for Talk Today on Wednesday. Join Dr. Steve McFeel and I on For the Record, where we will be discussing the legacy of the late CB Clifton Borden, talking about him, about his character, about his knowledge, about his love of country on Wednesday. Thank you. Have a great day. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking and pension needs, call or visit a Fidelity branch today. Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealerships serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Base and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling Seaboard Marine at 949-4977.